All right, we will call this committee hearing to order. Welcome, everyone. Happy Monday, March 10th, 2025. This is the Transportation Committee of the Minnesota Senate. The time is 3:05 p.m. We are in room 1100 of the Minnesota Senate building. In accordance with the rules of the Senate, the following members will be participating remotely in today's hearing. Senator Herr from St. Paul and Senator McEwen from Duluth. A quorum is present. And members, we have 3 items to hear today. And just to forewarn Senator Johnson Stewart, we're going to be taking Senator Weber second. Okay. All right. We'll start with Senate File 1171, Senator Kupec. Thank you. Welcome to the Transportation Committee, Senator Kupec. So the floor is yours.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Thank you, members of the committee. Senate File 1171 might be your shortest bill of the year because it is a one-word change, but that one word does have a fairly sizable meaning. So if you look on page 2, what the bill does is it takes the number of rail inspectors that the state has from 6 and goes to 10. So we're adding 4 rail inspectors to the state. Some of this is the idea that we are just not sure what the federal government is planning and doing in terms of potential cuts to rail inspectors. It has been talked about, and if that is the case, as somebody who lives in out of all my communities, all my cities in my district have about 80 trains a day or so that pass through there, and I just want to make sure that everything passing through town is as safe as possible. So that is the idea and the impetus behind the bill. And with that, Mr. Chair, I do have some testifiers.
Great. Thank you. We'll pause for just a moment, see if there are any questions at this point to the bill as presented, but we also will get to questions after testimony. All right, so with that, we will invite Joel Mueller from the Brotherhood of Locomotive Engineers and Trainmen forward to testify, and then Amber Bacchus from the Regional Railroads. Welcome, Mr. Mueller.
Good afternoon, Chair Dibble, members of the committee. I'm Joel Mueller with the Brotherhood of Locomotive Engineers and Trainmen. We are a labor union affiliated with the Teamsters Rail Conference that represents engineers, conductors, and trainmen. I want to thank Senator Kupec for authoring this bill, as it comes at, quite honestly, a crucial moment, since railroads are succumbing to the demands of Wall Street to boost profits and reduce personnel responsible for inspecting and maintaining railroad equipment and tracks. Due to the industry's tendency to take shortcuts in regards to safety, our members have noticed an increase in the use of equipment that has known safety defects. These defects pose a threat to both workers and the general public. This trend is a direct consequence of an industry prioritizing efficiency over safety, resulting in employees feeling pressured to quickly inspect freight equipment. Right here in the Twin Cities, a Class 1 railroad has opted to utilize less trained employees to inspect the rail equipment at the repair facility, rather than utilizing more qualified mechanical inspectors. Due to this, safety defects are frequently overlooked and equipment is returned to service without being repaired, creating a potential danger to the general public. The State Rail Safety Program, along with the FRA employees they complement, play a vital role to ensuring that railroad equipment adheres to federal standards, hazardous material regulations are enforced, and safety guidelines are adhered to. With the cuts to the federal workforce, a decrease in the number of FRA inspectors assigned to Minnesota is expected. This legislation serves as a safeguard against the expected cuts. It is a positive move towards guaranteeing that rail equipment and track meet federal regulations, that safety guidelines are adhered to, and that hazardous material regulations are followed. I would like to express my thanks to this committee for allowing me to testify today, and I remain open for questions you may have.
Thank you, Mr. Mueller. Questions for Mr. Mueller? Who's the young man who's keeping you company today?
That's my son, Jack.
All right, welcome. Glad to have you at the Transportation Committee. All right. Ms. Bacchus, welcome.
Great. Thank you, Mr. Chair and members. My name is Amber Backus. I'm with United Strategies, and I'm here on behalf of the Minnesota Regional Railroads Association, a trade association representing the 4 Class 1 railroads that operate in Minnesota, as well as 14 regional and short-line railroads in the state. I do appreciate Senator Kupec for starting a conversation about how federal policies may impact the safety of railroads. However, we do not believe the Federal Railroad Administration Rail Inspector Program is at risk of being cut. Since the advent of the new federal DOGE program, the FRA's 350 rail safety inspectors have gone untouched. According to FRA staff, inspectors were exempt from the deferred resignation program due to their role in protecting public safety. And cuts to the FRA have focused on the passenger, rail, and grant side, not the safety arm of the agency. But for us, a bigger and looming threat to rail safety in Minnesota is the potential for the state to lose out on nearly $10 million in railroad crossing elimination grants that were awarded to Minnesota in mid-January. The new administration has put these awards on hold, and there is talk that they could be rescinded altogether. Minnesota received 8 awards, more awards than any other state, and that's due to the collaborative work the host communities and Class 1 railroads, along with MnDOT, did to put in strong applications. Communities across the state, including Minneapolis, Hermantown, La Crescent, Anoka, St. Paul, Becker, Alexandria, and Moorhead in Senator Kupec's own district, could lose out on monies they were counting on to make crossing safer and reduce adverse interactions with the motoring public. Over 95% of railroad fatalities are due to crossing accidents and pedestrians. When looking at railroad safety data in Minnesota, we've seen significant drops in all categories over the past 10 years, but grade crossing accidents are not dropping at the same rate. We encourage all of you to call on our congressional delegation and federal officials to release these important safety grants that were awarded to the state. And lastly, I'd be remiss if I didn't share the significant increase in daily inspections conducted by Class 1 railroads that are underway. Between 2020 and 2023 alone, U.S. railroads more than doubled the number of daily automated inspections, which used advanced trackside detectors to identify equipment and track defects invisible to the naked eye. Today, railroads conduct over 3.5 million of these automated inspections daily. This investment in technology has allowed the railroads in Minnesota to experience a 56% reduction in track-caused derailments over the past year and a 25% reduction in equipment-caused derailments, important progress that the industry strives to improve upon. Again, safety is a driving concern for the agency, and we believe we could be doing more, but we are suspect about this approach at this time, so thank you very much.
Thank you, Ms. Backus. All right. Would anyone else like to testify on Senate File 1171? Or does anyone have any questions for Ms. Backus? All right. Members, questions to the author to Senate File? Oh, yeah, excuse me. Thank you. We do have a fiscal note in front of us, so I will ask Ms. Boyd to help us understand the fiscal note.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. The fiscal note for 1171 should say revised on the top. If you look on the first page, it shows a net zero effect for cost of the bill, but an additional 1 FTE in each year starting in fiscal year 26. And on page 2, you can see in the table that there's a summary of the assumptions that MnDOT is making is that they would hire 1 additional inspector each year over the forecast period. So there'd be 4 FTEs, new inspectors, by 2029. And you can see that in the table, the expenditures and the revenues. The revenues are coming from assessments on the railroads and the rail carriers, I believe, and the expenditures are for the costs of the inspectors. And there's a table on page 3 that sums up both wages, overtime, truck costs, equipment, et cetera, coming to the total for each year.
Great. Any questions to the fiscal note, members? Oh, Senator Nelson.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Well, I'm just looking at that revised table on page 3, and what's the difference between the rate and the adjusted rate? I mean, I could see the difference in the amounts, but I'm just curious. The rate is $45, but the adjusted rate is $67.50. What's overtime?
Oh, I don't know. No, I didn't mean to answer it.
Ms. Boyd.
Mr. Chair, that is a very good question. I don't know that I can answer that unless that is maybe MnDOT can comment on that, or I can get back to you. I mean,
Mr. Chair, I have some
Senator Johnson Stewart.
experience with MnDOT rates. I believe that's the overtime rate,
Okay.
I believe
because
that,
it's time and a half.
I'm sorry, Mr. Chair, I believe overtime is listed on the second line, so I'm not sure that the adjusted rate would, I think we'd have to get a better answer. You may be right, Senator Johnson Stewart, but I think that's being picked up on the second line.
Looking at MnDOT. Mr. Rudin.
Thank you.
You're right, I'm wrong.
Mr. Rudin.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Eric Rudin, MnDOT Government Affairs. That the adjusted rate is actually the overhead rate, so not overtime, but overhead would include things like health insurance costs, for example.
A desk and a computer and paper clips. Yeah.
Correct.
Okay, very good.
Unemployment insurance, stuff like that.
All the
Thank
good
you.
stuff. All right. Thank you. Anything further, members? All right. Any questions to the bill? Senator
Chair.
Jasinski.
Just a concern, again, I think we're seeing better safety. I know this year we're seeing everybody trying to have a knee-jerk reaction over what's going on in the federal government. To my understanding, they're not looking at cutting any of these types of jobs. We're seeing better and better safety. Everybody wants safety, I understand that. But we're just putting the burden on the railroads of the tune of about $1 million, or how much, what's the total? $1 million, so about $500,000 each year approximately. The railroads are just going to have to put that cost onto somebody else. They're not just going to absorb that. It's going to make cost of goods more expensive. Again, we have rail safety is not just employees, but it's rail detectors, all kinds of different things. I think Minnesota, in comparison to other states, has a fairly robust safety improvements in what's going on. So again, we're just adding costs, pushing it on to the private businesses, which is just going to turn around and increase costs of all our goods and services. So again, Minnesota, I think, is well known to be pretty safe, has a robust safety program, and we're just adding another dollar amount in a knee-jerk reaction to what's happening in the federal government. So my opinion.
Thank you, Senator Jasinski. Senator Pop.
Thank you, Chair Dibble. So as I've stated before, I'm new to transportation and I don't know much about rail. So this might be a dumb question, but I'm going to ask it because I've got the question.
All good.
So here it talks about increasing the amount. So rail safety inspector. Does this mean that, do we charge for inspections? Is there, if we're adding on people, it's going to cost, but do we charge anything for those inspections that we get back in revenue that covers the cost, or how does that work? I'm just curious. I don't know.
It happens through an assessment mechanism, so the railroads pay for the inspectors. The MnDOT makes an assessment to the railroad companies. Railroad companies pay a certain dollar amount to MnDOT. MnDOT uses that money to hire the inspectors. Does that answer your question?
Yep, that
All right,
does.
thank
Thank you.
All right. Senator Johnson, start.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. First, I'm so sorry that I misled you. But secondly, this is for the author, Senator Kupec. It's my understanding that this just allows for the costs up to 10 rail inspector positions and does not mandate that. So isn't this, and maybe to you, Mr. Chair, isn't this just a contingency plan that they can hire up to 10 if indeed at the federal level we see a cut in rail inspectors? It says
I will
up
ask
to.
either Senator Kupec or Mr. Greenfield to clarify that question.
I'm referring to line 214.
Mr. Chair and Senator Johnson Stewart, that's correct. The program and the fiscal note also indicates that the rail inspectors would be hired one at a time up until 2029, I believe. So they're, the fiscal note assumes that 4 wouldn't be hired immediately upon final enactment of the bill, that there would be time for a sequential hiring of additional staffers to meet the full complement of 10.
So this.
Senator Johnson Stewart.
Oh, sorry. So this mandates 10, this mandates, I don't read it that way. I read it that the DOT is able to hire up to 4. So I feel like this is a smart approach to an uncertain future, and what we can see at the federal level. I think this is a really important way for us to just cover our bases in case, in fact, we do lose safety inspectors at the federal level, or because of things happening at the federal level.
Senator Kupec, do you have an opinion on this question? Is this a bill that would propose that we do hire 10 up to, we increase from 6 to 10 rail inspectors, or we might increase from 6 to 10 based on what happens in terms of the federal complement?
Sure, I would agree, Mr. Chair, with Senator Johnson Stewart. It does say up to 10, so I guess that gives them a little bit of discretion. But certainly, my intent of bringing this bill was, the early playbook stated that this was going to be an area where there were cuts, and from day to day, we just don't know. So I thought I would just tee this up, bring it to you, the committee, to MnDOT to have it available if they need it in their back pocket.
Okay, Senator Johnson Stewart.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Mr. Chair or Senator Kupec, do you know where these inspectors would be based? Are rail inspectors based throughout the state, or do they mostly, are they hired through Metro or through the rail office in St. Paul? Does anybody know where rail inspectors are based?
Senator Kupec?
I do not.
You're welcome to phone a friend, and we
Sure.
can pull MnDOT up to help us
MnDOT
understand.
would like to come up. I'm assuming they operate throughout the state where they are exactly based.
Well, it looks like
Senator
the,
Johnson Stewart.
Sure.
All right, Mr. Mueller is going to come forward and help us out. Yes, they inspect rail throughout the state. I don't know more precisely the answer to the questions you asked. Mr. Mueller.
Mr. Chair, Senator Johnson Stewart, we, as union officers, we deal with both the FRA inspectors and the state inspectors when we see issues arise that where regulations aren't followed. And I guess to answer your question, they're more based throughout the state. I think they coordinate with, and maybe MnDOT can speak to this, I think they coordinate with the FRA inspectors that are assigned to the state on how they address certain issues or what territories they may cover. So hopefully that can shed some light on it.
Welcome.
Hi, Tori Hunkus with MnDOT, Mr. Chair.
All right, welcome. Please, please proceed.
Sure. All of our inspectors are based out of St. Paul, out of the rail office, Office of Freight and Vehicle, Commercial Vehicle Operations. 4 of them, sorry. We have 2 track inspectors, and they split the territory of the state in half. And then the other disciplines each cover the entire state.
And can you repeat your name again just for our records here? Thanks.
Sure. Tori Hunkus, Hunkus.
Thank you. Senator Nelson.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Well, just one comment, and then I have a question for the appropriate MnDOT person who's here today. It just seems rather strange to be passing legislation based upon a hypothetical. So I'm somewhat concerned about that. But my question is, what if someone could speak? Does MnDOT support this? Now, I understand the cost is an assessment calculation to the railroads, and we've heard the railroads are supporting other measures, but not this. But does MnDOT support this particular bill?
I'm guessing that's more a question for Mr. Rudin. Mr. Rudin.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Senator Nelson, so I will say that this proposal, while it is not included in the governor's budget, we certainly recognize the need for enhancing rail safety. We've, I think, had conversations even before this year about whether the current number of up to 6 is appropriate or whether we should, increase that. So It's a big state, as you just heard. We have certain inspectors who have to cover the entire state of Minnesota. Obviously, with more inspectors, we can do more inspections, and I don't have the data with me. Ms. Hunkus probably has it on top of her head, but we do find fairly significant issues through some of these inspections, and we absolutely appreciate working with the federal inspectors as well as the railroads. They have their own inspectors, but these are obviously a freight train traveling at 70 miles an hour. If it derails, does a lot of damage. We have had incidents in this country. We had one in Lake Megantic in Canada that killed several people when it derailed. So these are very serious safety issues, and we certainly recognize and appreciate the need for enhanced safety on our railroads.
Senator Nelson.
Thank you. So it's not in the governor's budget, and it's not, it's responding to something that may or may not happen from the federal level. But of course, we all support safety. So I understand that, but you've answered my questions. Thank you.
Thank you. Senator Howe.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. And I guess it was brought up as far as you have different types of inspectors. What type of inspectors would these be that you were planning to hire then?
Mr. Rudin.
Mr. Chair, could I defer back to Ms. Hunkus on that question? Sorry.
Ms. Hunkus, maybe let's pull up another chair. So, Ms. Hunkus.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. We haven't quite decided exactly what type of inspector we would hire. I think that it would make sense to double up on the ones that are currently a single inspector, so they can all split the state in half. But we'd like to analyze the numbers of the inspections and some of those kinds of other things to see what would be the most effective use of the manpower.
Senator Howe.
Thank you, Mr. Chair, and thanks for that answer. I would think before we come to the committee and ask for more inspectors, that analysis would already happen, that you'd already have that to know where the gaps are and what you need. But the other thing I find interesting that if that is the intent, is to have these inspectors, these proposed new hires, replace the proposed federal inspectors that may be cut. I would like to see that explicitly, that intent explicitly in the bill, because that would actually clarify it, because right now, to me, it's a question mark. And if that is the intent, we should have that in the language to show that if, in fact, these federal inspectors get cut, then we will replace them with these hires until such time as those federal inspectors get replaced to do this inspections that the federal inspectors now are not doing. I think that would be the language that we should be looking for if that truly is the intent of the bill. Thank you, Mr. Chair.
Thank you, Senator Howe. All right, Senator Farnsworth.
Thank you, Mr. Chair, and I'm going to use Senator Paz's excuse about being new and not knowing a lot about this. So it sounds to me like there's currently federal inspectors and there's currently state inspectors. I'm wondering, do they inspect different things or do they do the same thing? Like, is there overlap? What's the difference between the two types of inspectors?
Ms. Hunkus.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. They complement each other. So there are 5 different railroad disciplines that we have currently in Minnesota. Track, signal and train control, motive power and equipment, hazardous material, and operating practices. And each one of our inspectors has their own FRA counterpart for this area. And they will be inspecting at the same time, but often in different areas. Sometimes they will inspect together as a team if there's a specific thing they want to look into. But I guess the answer is they're very similar, and they're both federally certified.
Senator Farnsworth.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I guess I don't understand why we need both. Like, if there's qualified Minnesota inspectors, why do we need federal inspectors? Or if there's qualified federal inspectors, why do why would we need the state? And there may be a reason. I'm not trying to be argumentative. I'm just wondering, like, why are we paying for double the inspectors when they're doing the same job? Unless, because of the interstate commerce, there's something that the state people can't do. So I don't know if you can comment or if there's an answer to that, or if my question is just a comment on its own.
Well, Senator Farn, I'll suggest, we definitely want state rail inspectors who are accountable and responsive to the State Department of Transportation, not just Federal Rail Authority inspectors here are only accountable and are communicating up the chain to Washington, D.C. We want our own inspectors who are accountable to our own state office and our own commissioner and by extension to us. So that I'll suggest that as the beginning of an answer and then ask Ms. Hunkus or Mr. Rudin if they can round out.
Mr. Chair, I'll just maybe a little history. So we did not used to have state inspectors in Minnesota. We only relied on the railroad inspectors and federal inspectors. And then I think it really dates back to when we had a large number of crude oil trains coming out of North Dakota, back when Governor Dayton was in office, and he felt very strongly that, the number of federal inspectors that were in Minnesota was just not sufficient. And so I think that's really how, as I recall, and legislators who were here then maybe have more history that they remember, but, we had crude oil trains that were going under Target Field during baseball games. And if you can imagine one of those crude oil trains exploding with, 40,000 people in the Twin Stadium, that was pretty scary stuff. So that's kind of how this whole state program originated, as I recall, to supplement the efforts that were being made by federal inspectors as well as railroad inspectors.
Yeah, I think it was in the aftermath of Lac Mégantic and Castleton with those gigantic explosions, and the uptick in the crude that was coming out of the North Dakota, which is particularly volatile, but raised a lot of concerns. There still are oil trains going under the Twin Stadium at all hours. We don't have anything to say about it because we're federally preempted, but what we do have to say about it is, how safe the equipment and the tracks and the operations are. So, Senator Farnsworth.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. And I think I agree with you that we want state inspectors. I mean, one of the testifiers had indicated that they found pretty serious problems that maybe were missed by the federal inspectors. I just was sort of thinking out loud. And I do have to just put in, just for fun, this little plug for more. I can't even think of the word. I have a cold, so forget it. I'll just move on.
We'll accept a redo, a mulligan when you get back to your dad joke. All right, Senator Drzezinski.
Thank you, Mr. Chair, and again, Senator Kupec. So again, a little frustrating. Again, we're trying to have a knee-jerk reaction that we don't know of any proposed cuts to rail safety on the federal level, but we're going to try and increase spending by 40% in rail safety here. Going back, you look in the late 90s when President Clinton was there, he had to cut 377,000 jobs to do so, to try and balance our budget and reduce our national debt. And now the Governor Walz is looking at a $6 billion structural deficit, and now we're adding 40%, putting on the backs of our businesses here in Minnesota, the railroads, and they're just going to pass it on to our consumers. It's a $1.2 million increase. I think our rail safety is getting better here in Minnesota. As I said, we have a robust rail inspection program with the inspections, and again, we're proposing something that we are thinking might happen, but we're not doing it. So is the intent, Senator Kupec, if the federal government does not cut these, you still want to add additional 40% costs to the rail inspection process?
Senator Kupec.
Sure. Thank you, Mr. Chair. Thank you, Senator Drzezinski. I think my intent is to bring a tool to this committee that you will then have at your disposal should you need it when you are putting together your final budget at the end of the year. So I think it will be imperative upon you to make that final decision.
Thanks,
Senator
Senator
Jasinski.
And thanks, Senator Kupec. So your intent is if the federal government does not cut these safety rail inspectors, you do not need to add these? Is that correct?
Senator Kupec.
Sure, and I think that is, under the advice of MnDOT, if that is their feeling as well, that they are okay with the staffing that they have, then sure, I think that's it. But I think if we do lose federal rail inspectors, I think we're going to want definitely to have something in the state to make sure we're safe.
Senator Jasinski.
And thanks, Senator Dibble, or Chair Dibble, and Senator Kupec. Then again, the governor does not have this in his proposed budget. He is trying to balance a budget that now went from a $5.1 billion structural surplus to a $6 billion deficit. Again, I just don't think this makes sense. It's a knee-jerk reaction that we're here seeing all this session about what's happening on the federal side. I just don't think this is needed. Thank you.
Thank you, Senator Jasinski. Senator Johnson-Stewart.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. My understanding of this bill is that the reason it's statutory is because the railroads are assessed the cost of these inspectors, and so to keep it reasonable, we can't hire 20 inspectors or 50 inspectors, but it's legislated here that we have currently 6. We're asking to go up to 10. Now, I'm wondering if anybody else on this committee is a certified rail inspector or has gone through rail safety training. Anybody? I have. And so part of rail safety is having adequate eyes on the rail while the inspection is happening. So inspecting rail is pretty scary, and those trains can sneak up on you. So I think it's commendable that Senator Kupec, and me, by the way, because I'm a co-author, is planning ahead that we have enough inspectors. Like, this is not controversial. We want our inspectors to be safe, and we want the rail to be safe. So if, by the way, we've seen thousands, if not more, anybody can Google it, thousands of federal employees laid off in the last 6 weeks. Why am I not supposed to guess that maybe our rail inspectors will meet the same fate? Like, the evidence is there. We are seeing thousands of federal employees being laid off. So if I'm going to have my former staff, because I sold my company, out working on a railroad track, I want to make darn sure that there's adequate safety inspectors. It's such a no-brainer. Plus, $100,000 jobs, and we're here worrying about this is bad. This is good. If we can hire up to 4 more people to make $100,000 a year, doing a good job, working for the DOT, getting good benefits, being in a union, I don't see anything problematic with this. It is a really good idea. And anybody, to answer the question earlier, anybody who is going to be a certified rail inspector, it's not just some guy off the line at, Home Depot. It is somebody who has been highly trained, highly certified, whether they're doing it for the DOT, whether they're doing it for the state, whether they're for the feds, or whether they're doing it for the railroad. This is a serious job. It is a serious job, and it pays well, and I'm all in favor of having a contingency plan if, in fact, the rail inspectors meet the same fate as the federal park employees, the Social Security employees, we could name it, and we could name it. There have been thousands of layoffs, and Senator Kupec, hats off to you for planning ahead, because I do not want to be in a small community with a railroad track that runs through it, let's say Buffalo, if we don't have adequate rail inspection. So I encourage support of this bill, and I'm proud that my name is on it. Thank you, Mr. Chair.
Thank you, Senator Johnson-Stewart. All right. Anything further? All right. I'll just mention for the record, it bears repeating. I've said it before. The railroads have been posting literally billions of dollars in record profits in the last few years. Billions in the B's, and they post net revenues in the neighborhood of anywhere from 23 to $10 billion. So they're doing all right. With that, we will lay Senate File 1171 on the table for possible inclusion in a future bill. Thank you, Senator Kupec.
Thank you, Senator. Thank you, committee.
All right. On the flip side of the conversation, something that the railroads will like, we have Senate File 1046, Senator Weber. Smaller railroads, but railroads nonetheless. Senator Weber.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Senate File 1046 basically is the slim credit for short line railroads. This has been through the tax committee, and the reason that it is in front of you today is because part of the requirement for the tax credit for them is to get a credit certificate from the Commissioner of Transportation. If you look at Senate File 1046, the two lines that I would reference, or two areas I would reference, are lines 1.9, 1.10, and then subdivision 3, paragraph A on page 2. And to qualify for the credit, an eligible taxpayer must receive a certificate from the Commissioner of Transportation, which will then be issued to the Commissioner of Revenue for purposes of the credit and for purposes of transferring the credit. And so with that, Mr. Chair, that is the purpose of this bill being in front of your committee.
Thank you, Senator Weber. I'll pause just to see if anyone has any technical questions or clarifications on the bill as presented. All right. Ms. Backus is making her way forward. Welcome.
Great. Thank you again, Mr. Chair and committee members. Amber Backus on behalf of the Minnesota Regional Railroads Association. And again, we represent both the big and small railroads. And this is an initiative that's incredibly important to those regional and short line railroads. Oftentimes they are operating on track that was abandoned by the Class 1s. It was built years ago and is at a much lower standard than what is the industry standard today. Upgrading that track is incredibly expensive. A few years ago, it was $500,000 per mile, give or take, to rehab track. With inflation, those costs have gone up to almost $1 million. So having tools like the short line infrastructure modernization tax credit are incredibly important. Unfortunately, when we passed the bill in 2023, we didn't get it quite right with regard to the transferability of the tax credits. Having to wait until a railroad files their taxes to take advantage of it, they lose the opportunity to leverage financing on the front end. And they do want that flexibility. A lot of times the small railroads are trying to buy ties and other products when the Class 1s aren't, so there's not the demand, so they can get it at a lower cost. So they would like to have that flexibility and be able to access capital to do that on a timeline that works for them, not based on the filing of the state. So we are very appreciative of this bill going forward. The needs for the short lines are great. There's an estimated $250 million in projects out there. So this combined with the Rail Service Improvement Program are great tools to help them access the capital. And it's not just about making them more efficient. These are improvements that will make them much safer as they operate across the state of Minnesota. So thank you very much. We appreciate your consideration.
Thank you, Ms. Backus. And we have Ryan Peaty from Mickelson and Company, who's joining us remotely. If you're able to pop on. Welcome to the committee. Please introduce yourself for the record and proceed with your testimony.
Good afternoon, Mr. Chair, members of the committee. My name is Ryan Peaty with Mickelson and Company, and we work with most of the short line railroads in the state of Minnesota, and we've been familiar with this type of incentive mechanism that's been utilized in other states to accelerate investment in track improvement work. And so just on behalf of the industry and the short lines that are taking advantage of this program, this is a good cleanup to the original intent of the program. It's going to allow railroads to make investments in track and utilize the program in its intended form. A lot of times the investments these short lines make aren't dependent on whether they're going to have a tax bill or not. They're doing that to improve the track so that their customers can get their commodities to market in a safe, efficient, and effective manner. So this is a good cleanup. I think maybe some of you are familiar from this last year when we had visited with the committee, and we have had conversations with the Department of Transportation in terms of their role in this, and they seem to be on board with it. And so appreciate you taking this up, appreciate Senator Weber and his leadership, and ask your support of this bill, and happy to answer any questions.
Thank you, Mr. Peaty. Any questions, members? All right, I did fail again to ask that the fiscal note be presented, so if we could do that now at this time, Ms. Boyd.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. The fiscal note again says revised for Senate File 1046. There are two agencies on the bill, MnDOT and the Department of Revenue. If you look on page 4, it's a net zero fiscal note, but on page 4 you'll see that there are, it says expenditures in the general fund. I would classify this more as the value of the staff time, but those costs will be absorbed within existing staff in the department. If you look under assumptions on that page, MnDOT estimates that a position that would need to review and approve these credit certificate applications and then share those certificates with the Department of Revenue would amount to about 520 hours of work annually, and that this work will be absorbed by MnDOT. And then there is a note from the Department of Revenue that there's no cost to, because that work on their side can be completed by existing staff as well.
Great, thank you so much. Questions, members? We exhausted ourselves on the last bill.
I appreciated that, Mr. Chair.
All right, so with that, I think we just need to send it back to taxes at this point. If Senator Jasinski will move Senate File 1046 to be recommended to pass and be referred to the Committee on Taxes.
So moved.
All in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed say no. Motion carries. Thank you, Senator Weber.
Thank you.
All right, Senator Johnson Stewart, Senate File 2136. Johnson Stewart, would you like to start with the A2 amendment?
I would. Thank you, Mr. Chair. So before I present it.
Let's just vote on the A2 very quickly.
Oh, certainly.
All right. Senator Johnson Stewart moves the A2 author's amendment. All in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed say no. Motion carries. Senator Johnson Stewart.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I was just going to say this is the MnDOT policy bill, policy omnibus bill, and I have one testifier. Basically, sections 1 and 2 just modify some statutory designated routes on the trunk highway system. Section 3 amends the definition of an intersection so that this definition is in alignment with the manual on uniform traffic control devices, otherwise known as the MUCTA. So it's just so that MnDOT doesn't have to continuously make that correction in their manuals and their design standards. Section 4 updates what a steady yellow light indicates. You know, lately MnDOT and other agencies have been implementing the flashing yellow, so this adds to that oversight or the overview of what the steady yellow does. Section 5 clarifies crash reporting requirements of a peace officer to mandate a report to the Commissioner of Public Safety whenever there is bodily injury. And then Section 6 to 9 establishes and permits an individual to use electronic attestation for certain aircraft registration, basically allows for electronic or online registration for aircraft. And then Section 10 makes a technical change to the definition of unmanned aerial system. The amendment is simply to clear up some turnbacks or 2 turnback agreements between MnDOT and local governments, and they've both been vetted and agreed to, which is why we have the A2 amendment.
Thank you.
Mr. Chair.
Thank you, Senator Johnson Stewart. Questions on the bill at this point? All right, Ms. Witt, did you have anything further to share?
Actually, hello, everyone. My name is Jennifer Witt, and I'm with MnDOT's Office of Government Affairs. And Senator Johnson Stewart really covered everything pretty well. We are taking out the Trunk Highway 244 to Matamidi turn back due to the fact that Representative Anderson is working with the City of Delwood to try to bring them in. They were in, then they were out, and so we're going to try to bring them in because having that as one long turn back would be a better deal and just doing it all together. So that's the reason for the amendment. Other than that, electronic attestation is just a feature that allows aircraft owners to register not in person and not just online, or not by mail, but then they could do it online so that it gives them a little bit more freedom. It's a little bit easier. The yellow signal indication is just really a clarification. That is to put into the sort of what actually happens after that flashing yellow light when the light goes steady. And so everybody really knows there's not an issue with it. Traffic engineers like to have those things in manuals, and so that we're all clear about the rules. Same with the intersection definition, and that would really just go to the MUT, is what we call it, to keep it simple. But that would just give the MUT the sort of, they would have the rules rather than having to come back to the legislature every time there's a word change or something in that. So crash reporting, which is in there, that's just so that we can collect that data. That's very important to us. It's about bodily harm at intersections, and so that would just be so we can make sure that we're addressing and prioritizing the right intersections at the right time, those that are the most unsafe, because then we'll have that data to back us up. Other than that, it's a pretty simple, easy bill, very technical. So I'm here for questions if anyone has any. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Witt. Questions, members? Senator Howe.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. The only concern I have is with the bodily injury reporting, because, here, before the deletion, it looks like, the officer's on scene, he knows who got transported to the hospital, that type of thing. How would the officer know if someone, 2 days later is having headaches and goes in? I guess that's my concern. They really won't know that piece. Before it was pretty clear. It was injuries at the scene. Yeah. You know who's got bodily injuries. Now it's well, we think they might go in. I guess that's my concern. Before it was pretty explicit on who got included in that. Are they going to do follow-up, or how is that supposed to be handled?
Senator Johnson Stewart or Ms. Witt?
Do you know?
Yes. Chair, Senator Howe, thank you for the question. This is just actually reverting it back to the law that it was before the 2023 change that we did. And no, they would not go to the hospital and check and see if there were headaches or follow-up on that front. It would really be at the scene. They would determine that, somebody had some serious injuries, and I think, we can all understand, when they make that determination, they're pretty good at it. They've had lots of experience. And so that's just really so that we can collect that aggregate data and know which intersections are most problematic.
So Ms. Witt, sorry,
Yes.
Senator Howe, don't want to step on your questions. So was the language added in 23 that's now being taken away, added by the agency, and it's just not working the way we had hoped, or how? Yeah, why are we taking it away so soon? Thank you.
Chair. Thank you. Yes, we're just not getting the kinds of data that we were getting before, and we really, the traffic engineers really want that again so that they can prioritize maybe one intersection, that's really problematic over, a secondary intersection.
Thank you. All right, further questions, members? All right. With that, we will lay Senate File 2136 as amended on the table for, yes, my apologies. We'll give Senator Johnson Stewart the final word.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I just wanted to thank my co-authors, Senator Jasinski and Senator Dibble, and my testifier. That's it. Thank you.
All right. Thank you. So we will now lay Senate File number 2136 as amended on the table for possible inclusion in a future bill. All in favor say aye. Aye. Oh, I guess we don't need to vote on that, do we? All right, but we're doing it anyways. So ratified. let the minutes reflect. With that, so we have nothing further today. We'll see you on Wednesday. Senator Jasinski. Oh, yes, Senator Jasinski, you have an announcement.
Yeah, just wanted to let you guys wanted you guys folks to know we have a new staff person. Tom Cheetah has joined our researcher position after Dave Frazier exited last Friday. Tom was on state government. He's as a researcher. He now is on pensions and elections as a researcher, as well as now transportation. So we welcome him. He has some shoes to fill with Mr. Frazier, but we know he will do that. So welcome, Tom Cheetah.
We will endeavor to keep him busier than pensions and elections keeps him. All right. Welcome aboard. Glad to have you, Tom. All right. Anything further, members? With that, we'll see you Wednesday. We are adjourned.